Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 382, and today we're going to be doing battle with the Fearsomes. And so, the Fearsomes deck, if you're not familiar with it, this really had a time to shine for like one patch. There was one patch to where this deck was exceptionally strong, and then it really just kind of fell off the radar. But if the meta really designs itself and falls forth in a way that this specific strategy is strong, I am most certainly going to be looking to take this into the upcoming best of 3 events. And so, if you're not familiar with the deck itself, it's looking to come out and take advantage of a bunch of fearsome units. Fairly straightforward. Pretty much all of the units in the deck have fearsome, but it has some big combos kind of attached to it. This is using the Mistwraith package. So we have the Mistwraith and the Wraithcaller along with the Risen Mist to generate these Mistwraiths. And then we have access to the card Soul Cleave, which is going to let us potentially kill off one Wraithcaller. That Wraithcaller is going to summon 2 more copies. Those 2 copies are going to summon 2 more Mistwraiths. Those 2 more Mistwraiths are going to give all of our Mistwraith +2 attack. It's a very high risk, high reward play, but if the opposing deck doesn't have great ways to answer it, you almost certainly come out and win the game. It also has some other uses within the deck, whether or not that is trying to flip Kalista to where we kill 1 unit, then we get 2 ephemeral units that are going to die and come in and flip our Kalista, or copy things like Frenzied Skitterer to where we can shrink the opposing board up to 3 times in 1 turn. So we play the Skitterer, shrink the board, then we copy it with Soul Cleave, shrink the board 2 more times. Very challenging for the opponent to actually come out and block the any of our Fearsomes in the event that the things fall out in that manner. The card that I do want to call out that we're playing from the new set is going to be Pirouette. This is a card that fits in fantastically with that kind of theme. It doesn't really look like a card that's going to be amazing in here. We don't have any ways to just deal damage to the opponent's face to make this cheaper, but if we come across one of these sequences to where our opponent just say blocks Boisterous Host with a 3/3, then on the following turn we're able to kill the 1 health unit, stun another one, and just attack for a ton of damage. That's exceptionally strong. Or if we want to cycle back to that idea that we just said with, say, Frenzied Skitterer, is to where we shrink all of the opponent's board, and they go, LOL, here's 1 more big guy. You know, if we're able to stun that big guy, then we can typically crash in with all of our Fearsomes. And so it's a very high utility card in that sense. It gives us a way to kind of Nightfall our Nocturne on the cheap and using our spell mana, and it fits in very nicely in this deck, even though it may not really appear as so right from the start. The last kind of things to call out with this deck is it's okay as just kind of a generalist deck. It has this really nice aggro package to it that can just beat up on a lot of decks, but it's really looking for a kind of specific meta to develop. And so where this deck was exceptionally strong was in the Rise meta. Rise was the top contender for a seasonals, maybe like 2 seasonals ago, maybe 3, back when seasonals was still a thing, but the deck just did not function well against Fearsomes because it couldn't actually kill any of your units. And so they would put a stun onto a Mistwraith that would typically be bad, but the unit is cheap and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And so getting that temporary stun on the small unit wasn't that spectacular. But if this meta kind of continues to evolve, we see Annie Katarina as being one of the premier control decks in the format. If we see people try to play these really heal-heavy kind of decks using that 1/4 Stellacorn that heals every turn of the game, if we're getting into this spot to where, say, AoE isn't that great, cards like Buried in Ice and Ruination aren't really running around, and our opponents are trying to come at us with a lot of just single target removal, then this deck has a real chance to break through and be a real contender, especially in the lands of best of 3. And so, hopefully that's a nice little primer. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Before the battles begin, though, we do have a little bit of a pay-to-win price to pay. And so our friend Soul Cleave, I'm surprised this isn't premium already. Again, this is a deck that we played in seasonals. I played a ton of ladder with this during that season, and it slipped through the cracks, I guess. Our everything else in the deck is already premium. Our Nocturne is battle bossing out here, but the Soul Cleave just didn't find a way to make it through. Are we up against the AI? Oh my god, let me get out of here. I was messing around with my OBS settings, and I was playing some AI games to try and tweak some things. I want to get into that space of making the little YouTube shorts, and I'm trying to mess with OBS to make that a possibility, and forgot to update the queue. But it's been fixed. That's out of the way. Maybe we'll get a real opponent this time. You pay the pay-to-win price. You got to get the real opponents while you're at it now, don't you? Okay, so first battle up against Poppy Ziggs. I'm reasonably happy with this 1-2-3 start. This is a deck, it's not a particularly awesome matchup. It's just if we're just out here all trying to race, they tend to race a little bit better than we do. They tend to have a little bit better blockers than we do, but again, it's most certainly a winnable matchup, even though it's not in that space of the meta that we're trying to directly attack. Now, this is kind of an interesting spot, and do we want to play the Butler or do we want to play the Arachnoid Horror? Since we do have the Frenzied Skitterer in hand, we can get a little bit of a bonus onto the Arachnoid Horror, but now that we've just picked up Kalista, I'm going to go with the Phantom Butler since we're going to be a little bit more incentivized to make trades on this next turn. And so, see if that falls through. Looks like opponent's going to just completely boom our board this round. I'm not willing to just wait on this Boisterous Host. If it makes a trade here, I'm more than happy with it. We'd, of course, love to get the level up on Kalista, but I don't think it's worthwhile to just sit back and hold this Boisterous Host here. I'd like to clear out this board, so if opponent does start to play cards like Poppy, as we always say with Poppy, we would rather have our Poppy give out +5 bonus stats instead of just +2 bonus stats, and so the opponent is probably looking at this in the same way. They would very much prefer to boost 5 other units as opposed to just 1, and so they're pretty incentivized to leave the units behind until the Poppy comes on board. I would most assuredly expect her to be coming down now. Just given the way that this is played out. I guess he could play Poppy on the next turn, but she's definitely a combat veteran here in these spaces. So again, I'm going to try and incentivize the opponent to trade away some of their units. I want these units to get cleared out so that we can refill our board. We have a very refillable space here with the Wraithcaller coming into play. Another thing to kind of call out is that you can kind of see here how Pirouette has a lot of opportunity. So if opponent plays Poppy right now, we could say stun the Poppy, deal the 1 damage to the Stone Stackers, and then be quite ready to just shut down this attack completely. But we're going to have to just count on our Wraithcaller here. We should still be getting pretty good blocks across the board. I just want to come in and prevent maximum damage and then also level up our Kalista. I don't think she should be dying this turn. This deck doesn't usually play cards like Elixir of Wrath, but it's certainly something that they're capable of having. But I think what's going to happen is our Kalista's going to flip. She's going to have 2 health and then be protected from Pokey Sticks on the upcoming turns. Doesn't have the mana to Pokey Stick our Kalista right now. Oh shit, I forgot about Cloud Stance. I thought you were going to survive the round, girl, but it's just not the case. That's okay, though. It's like a opponent just made their big play, and it didn't really do anything. They dealt 5 damage, 3 from the unblocked unit, 2 from the impacts, but they didn't get a real big board advantage here. Very, very likely to come in and just kill them on this upcoming turn. So we can look to make Nocturne go. He's not going to be able to get a kill, but depending on how things fall here, if opponent doesn't add a big boy to the board, then we'll be able to get the takedowns, right? So we can drop our Nocturne in. We'll just put it on his best unit for the moment. I was hoping that he would just play something expensive, right? We have 2 Hallowed, so if we got to put our Hallowed onto Nocturne, we could guarantee that the attacks roll through. But he played a little boy, weren't able to take it down, but still get the game. GG. All right, next battle. Feels good. Feels good. Come out, get a victory right out the gates. I dig it. See if we can't upgrade this platinum marker to a diamond before the video's over, you know? All right, Nar Sejuani coming at us. I would assume, seeing like Nar Sejuani Bandle City, that this is probably the Overwhelms deck that has the 5-cost card in it. Whatever 5-cost card is called. Spirits Unleashed, the AoE that boosts your team. And so we'll want to be a little careful with our our 1 health units, but see how that plays out. And we got the big Wraithcaller hand here. This is a little awkward having our units fall like this. Just an expensive dude. All right, here comes the attack. Sure thing. We could have looked to have kept our unit behind, but I feel like this is still a reasonable spot to get a takedown on board. Kind of sucks with our hand. I would have preferred to have had more units to play for the turn, but it is what it is. So let's just go ahead and prevent all the damage that we can. This game's going to grind on for a little bit since we have the 3 copies of Wraithcaller. And so we're not getting this really high impact explosive draw right out the gates. Was that spoiled thing? Shared spoils? Sure. Alright, Wraithcaller coming in. I'm ready for combat, my friend. He brings in the Tusk Speaker. I'm going to put our Hallowed onto our Mistwraith. As it stands, that's the only unit that he can block with his Tusk Speaker, and then if he puts his 2-1 in front of Wraithcaller, it's going to survive for the round. So not bad. Pokey Stick, that's expensive mana-wise. He's not adding any board here, so that feels pretty good to me. And then we still get to continue on with Wraithcaller next turn. Then 2 turns from now, we can Wraithcaller into Risen Mists. So many big units. Feels good. Feels good, man. Oh. It's a big old Chief Knack attack. No denying that. I think we want to just take this one. It's tough. He hasn't actually dealt any damage to us yet. And so he could follow up with a cheaper transform unit. The thing with this is, like, as we roll into next turn, the Chief Knack attack is able to block our Mistwraiths, but it's also just going to be able to just run into another Wraithcaller. And so I think it's fine to go ahead and put the damage on. Keep him from playing like a... What's that guy called? Like a Bitsy Spider? A Bitsy Transformer? Sure. I don't want him adding more 3/4s into the board. It's a little bit of a pain point here. And so now we have an option. We can either Risen Mists to immediately attack, or we can drop the Mistwraith, and I'm leaning towards just dropping the Mistwraith. I like the kind of surprise factor that we can get out of the Risen Mists right now. And so we're gonna leave it at home. Now let's put our Wraithcaller to the left, so if he does want to block it with the Shaman, it's going to get the takedown. Looks like he probably has like a Troll Chant or something here. I wouldn't be surprised to see, but very strong attack. And then, as this deck can always do, again, note we're up against a deck that can't deny. Could have a thing like Puzzling Signposts to slow down a Harrowing, but I feel pretty confident that if we roll into our next attack token, we should be able to play the Harrowing and refill our board, even if opponent plays some kind of ridiculous Transformer on the round to start killing our stuff. And the Battle Boss is here. Very nice addition for next round. I'd most certainly prefer to open attack next turn, so he doesn't have a chance to play something like Buried in Ice. I don't feel like this deck's probably playing Buried in Ice, but that would be a major opportunity for him to get takedowns on our units. So here we'll drop the Nocturne. As we open next turn, we open with the Risen Mists. It's going to shrink the Tusk Speaker, so it shouldn't be able to block our Fearsomes. It can, of course, come in and block a Wraithcaller if it doesn't have that Nocturne bonus attached to it, but he shouldn't be able to block with his middle unit here. Alright, so that's how we want the attack to start. We only need to come in for 6, right? And so, what if we do an attack like this? This guy gets to block something, so we don't want him to just be blocking our Nocturne. And then we have our Nocturne and our Wraithcaller down here to the right. So he's going to need a Harsh Winds to get out of this combat for the moment. Oh, you're only at 5 damage, Arachnoid Horror? That might actually be kind of disastrous. I think we're still okay here. This is hopefully one of these spots to where if opponent has to spend a bunch of mana to not die, then we still come out here and win these combats. But I had from my my mental mathematics there that the Arachnoid Horror was going to be enough to crash in for that lethal on its own. But not bad. Victory achieved. On to the next one. Taking him down. Taking him down. All right. Up against Draven Scion. So let's see. Reasonable enough start. I don't like starting with Nocturne, so we'll get rid of him. Mark of the Isles is kind of an interesting one here, especially as we're starting with like a 2-drop and a 2-drop, since it is a spell that will have the mana to play, right? If we have a curve of like 1, 2, 3, 4, then we probably aren't excited about the mark, since we're going to be just dropping units. But without a 1-drop here, I think the mark might be keepable, especially as we're going to be running up against units like Draven. But this is a fantastic hand in terms of wanting to talk about Pirouette. This is a fairly common sequence that you're going to see with this deck, where we play a 2-drop into a 2-drop into a 4-drop, and then we get the 2-bank along the way. It gives us a lot of opportunities to be coming in and getting that really nice Pirouette on turn 4 or turn 5. So I'm going to go ahead and take the trade. I played the Mistwraith because it's not going to be growing super fast. We are going to get some future Mistwraiths as soon as the Wraithcaller comes in, but I kind of feel like this Arachnoid Horror plan is going to be a little bit bigger in terms of damage we deal to the opponent. Let's see if it comes in and just trades with this Risen Rider. That's a fairly reasonable turn for us, especially since we're going to play Wraithcaller next turn, and then look to Soul Cleave the Wraithcaller 2 turns from now. Does have a little bit of that protection in the sense that we have the Mark of the Isles. If opponent tries to hit our Wraithcaller with a Get Excited or something, then we can potentially protect it for the next turn. Let's see what's up. Got that 1 health Wraithcaller out here. We got all the combos rolling through on this game. We're gonna play Kalista, then we're gonna Soul Cleave the Wraithcaller, then we're gonna drop Mark of the Isles. Big game, my friends. It's a big game. Alright, some Dredgers discard something. Not really worried about him playing 4 drops here. It's not that big of a deal. Uh-oh. Ooh, it's a Mystic Shot. It's not a Get Excited. Grab your popcorn, bro. Let's see how it goes. Is it gonna be enough? Uh-oh. He got bedazzled. He got bamboozled. Oh, sad day. Sad day for Wraithcaller. Alright. I'll take a one-way ticket to Frowntown after that one. Let's just pass the turn. We gotta see if we can't flip our Kalista now. We did get fairly aggressive there. We could have looked to have not blocked on the previous turn so that our unit would just have more health, but we said, watch this, my name's Bust, I'm about to be real greedy out here. Watch it and see. Watch it and see. Alright, let's clear out the board. If we pick up another unit next turn, we might be able to attack for a nice chunk of damage. It's kind of scary at this point in terms of we don't have a lot of great draws. We're in this space to where we might need to find a Harrowing to get ourselves out of this. Okay, but still, I mean, a good skitterer in the face of the Revenant. It lets us potentially shrink the Revenant to 3 attack and then still attack with Kalista. I don't know about this one, fam. This one went bad real fast. let's send in a little squad here. Might get us the flip on this Kalista and let her block some of this other stuff and then get something happening 2 turns from now. The Scion's gonna be a problem. We're looking to just Frenzied Skitter the Scion. We can't block him with Kalista, right? He's just gonna flip and bring the big boy side in, and so kind of problematic. No, GG. All right, and so that's tough. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, we just shouldn't have blocked with the Wraithcaller. That 2 damage was just too critical. You know, lesson learned in greed. If you want to make the highlight reel video, maybe don't be so aggressive with it. But I'm not too used to seeing the Draven Scion deck play Mystic Shot. It typically, well, there's a lot of different versions of it. It's a lot like the discard Draven deck we played, or the discard aggro deck we played a couple of videos ago, to where you can play a bunch of ones, or you can play a bunch of burn, or you can play some kind of mid-rangey deck in the middle. To the best of my knowledge, the Draven decks typically don't play a lot of Mystic Shots. But opponent had it there, boomed us real good. We learned our lesson. On to the next one. See if we can't hit the highlight reel this game, right? Say, Diana, I'm trying to do some cool stuff. Let me do my thing out here. Oh, forgot how Sunburst worked. Haven't got to play the old Sunburst friends anymore. It's a tragedy what they did to that Radiant Guardian. That was the big damage that was done to the Sunburst archetype. I think the Leona change is workable, where she's a Daybreak at 5, but the problem now is that the 3-drop. The 3-drop just coming down as a 3/3 instead of a 3/4 just trades with literally everything in the game. It's a bit of a bummer for him. But happy enough with this. Surprising attack with the 2/2. I guess it doesn't get a lot of opportunities to block in the future, so it makes a bit of sense. But I'm happy enough to trade away the Hallowed unit and then see how we can push through here. I'm looking to just build into Wraithcaller's Soul Cleave. We might find ourselves playing this a little bit slow, to where next turn we just play Frenzied Skitterer, and then 2 turns from now we play the Wraithcaller plus the Soul Cleave, and then have access to these Mark of the Isles. It's just going to depend on how safe everything feels here and what the opponent drops on the board. The thing I would be kind of stoked to see is, say we play the Wraithcaller, and then it just got hit by Leona next turn. It's not going to sequence out that way. We don't have the things quite on board to make it run like that. But I guess we could, like, if we say block with Mistwraith, and then next turn we lead with Phantom Butler. I mean, we can still play all the units in our hand. Let's just not get real greedy with this Wraithcaller again, right? let's let this one party at home for just a little bit, so we can drop the Soul Cleaves. But I think we want to lead with this. I don't want our Wraithcaller getting hit with a Sunburst, right? The big Targonian spell. I think they're more likely to have that Daybreak spell than they are to have a Vengeance here. Maybe that's a wrong line of thought. I'm not super familiar with what's going to be in the old Celesbians deck here, but maybe I'm just being kind of like having my judgment clouded because he's played 3 of these Daybreak units up to this point, and it's not a real common play for the deck at the end of the day. Opponent says, LOL. That silence didn't do what I wanted. It doesn't summon exact copies of the Wraithcallers. Alright, GG's. On to the next one. Ooh, such a fun deck. We've been climbing real hard with this thing. All right, Annie Jin coming at us. What do we got? I want to hang on to the Wraithcaller here. This is a pretty reasonable hand to keep across the board. If we want to, say, get out in front of an Annie with one of these Mark of the Isles, I think that's okay. given that we're on the even attacks here. And so if he wants to play Annie and open attack next turn, that's not a real good start for Annie Jen. And so if we get to have opponent play a card and then we play Phantom Butler and get in front of that, that's fine. And then if he just opens and we only take 2 damage, then absolutely fine. Love seeing that come forth. So we'll add in our Butler. Nice draw with Kalista. She's very powerful in this matchup. She can soak up quite a bit of damage. All right, Annie. Well, you're not blocking Team Fearsome. Do we want to run out the Kalista, though? This is actually a kind of interesting spot for it. Because what the kind of common strategy against Annie Jen is just to get as wide as you can and just prevent literally every single point of damage that you can, because they just run out of shit to do, and then you win with your value cards like the Wraithcallers. And so I'm kind of leaning towards just playing Phantom Butler into Onlooker so that we have the maximum number of units on board. Doesn't mean we're not going to be able to play Kalista until 2 turns from now, but I think that that's okay. So I'm gonna take the wider route here, and then if we get like a takedown in combat with the Mark of the Isles, I don't think that's terrible.
If we seek forgiveness, we must commit.
Stagehand is awkward, but not the end of the world. We still get this ultra wide board here. So opponent is like having Annie Jen on the back foot with their stagehands just feels fantastic. We're gonna crash through next turn, and it's gonna feel real good. All right, feeling real good now. The kind of downside to having this Wraithcaller hit is we want to play the Soul Cleave, but opponent's just not going to attack into this board. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see him just concede, but if we're trying to crash through and get the victories here, it's definitely kind of a problem. We're trying to hit the highlight reel here, bro. So, interesting things gonna happen with this, right? Jen's about to hit the Lotus Trap. The Lotus Trap's gonna stun the weakest enemy, which under normal circumstances is going to be this Stygian Onlooker. So we can look to use the Onlooker just as a free blocker to throw it in front of Jen, and then maybe try and take down Annie. I think I'm fairly okay with this. And so if we put the Onlooker in front of the Jen, and then we want to say Mark of the Isles, I'm going to use our Mistwraith here. I want to have 4/4. So if opponent wants to say Nox and Fervor this Jen into our Mistwraith to protect the Annie, he's not going to get it. So I guess he will still kill the Mistwraith in this space because the Molten Shield will hit, but I didn't want this unit just directly dying to Nox and Fervor. Mm-hmm. So we correctly deduced what was going to happen. We just didn't play we just didn't play around it very well. So we didn't get the Annie off of the board, but we're still looking quite strong here. Arrowwing turns up. We're gonna be 1 space short on this, aren't we? We're only gonna get. I think we still want to go for the Soul Cleave, but not losing out on that unit was kind of a bummer. We've done our best to punt this game. I think we're still in a pretty reasonable spot, especially as you can roll into the next turn and then just burst Arisen Mists onto the board, but. We have not we have not played this to maximum skill. But it is nice. We have the burst unit if he tries to open on us. Kalista still strong. If opponents, the extent of opponents plays next turn or like play Tibbers, then I don't think we ever lose that game. He's taking a big old smashing of damage here. Can he ever like unload 4 skills? I guess he only needs to unload 3 to get Jen to flip. Because the 4th one would come from the Lotus Trap, and then he would flip, and he'd be able to do the 4 damage to face thing. But I think we're still strong. And then if ultimately at the end of the day we have to throw away all of our units, we have the Harrowing for our next attack token. Just trying my hardest to lose this game, Gas. I mean, what more can you ask for? What more can you ask for? Bust, how do you get to Masters all the time? Well, you just try your hardest to lose the games. You pay to win, and, and it turns out you get there. All right. Opponent thinking hard on that 3 mana. Can't tell if they're going to make the sweetest play of 2023 or if they went ahead and just put their phone in the toilet. Both are respectable strategies. It's hard to tell which one they opened with, though. I think it's the phone in the toilet strategy, what we're seeing here. That timer's running down. Still going to run out this Kalista if the timer keeps going. Oh, let's just do this. Let's just pass, and then we'll burst out of Risen Mists. Hopefully that's enough. It's kind of scary in the sense if he says, oh shit, I'm back, and he blocks with both units and then plays a Nox and Fervor. You can stop the lethal. I mean, we probably still win the game at that point. He doesn't have anything on board, but I've won and lost from better circumstances, and so things like that can certainly come at you. All right, that was enough. He opted for the toilet route. I get it. Understand. GG. All right, next battle. They're coming at us fast and the furious. It's like Dominic Toretto out here. All right, so this should be some kind of weird timeline stack. It's odd seeing the champions line up like this, but as far as timelines is concerned, you have a lot of options in the champion space, and so you don't really need to play any of Vi, Victor, or Caitlyn. We are playing Trundle. You can play anything like that. Not real necessities, but this is a matchup to where we're going to have to watch ourselves for Buried in Ice, right? They most certainly play Buried in Ice in this deck, and so while we do have some of these draws to where we're kind of slow playing our units out there, you can't do that against this one. Let's see what turns up. Vulpine Wanderer comes down, gets the stance swap in hand, makes a 2-3. I think I'm going to leave our Boisterous Host at home for this one. If we're going to take this idea of just open attacking, I'd like to find a turn to where he's a little bit more relevant. We are probably just going to drop Kalista here as well, so gives a chance to boost her up. 5-4 Elnick. Dang, son, you big. You big. Alright, well, there's our block. We will at least have 2 4-attack units next turn. If we want to, say, add Wraithcaller, Phantom Butler getting 1 Hallowed, Wraithcaller getting the 4-attack on its own. Reasonable shots into the Elnick. Going to be tough though. Very, very strong curve with the timelines right out the gate. Oh, cool. Just a 4/7, huh? Okay. Okay. I think we still want to do the same thing. Send our 2 4-attack units in, make the blocks with the Elnick onto them not nearly as good. Surprised to see him not block the Wraithcaller. It's the one that has a lot of combo potential, but I guess it does look strong in the face of Kalista. That's the unit we'd be resummoning with Kalista right now is going to be the Wraithcaller, so a little bit of scariness there. And no real ways to shrink the board. We need a Nocturne to help with that final push. Nox and Defectors everywhere. See if he attacks into the Wraithcaller. I'm kind of curious if he's willing to go for it. He's got so much strength out here. Literally everyone has quick attack. Alright, Wraithcaller, you're in. Risen Mists as well. If we play the Risen Mists, it will swap our Kalista to now hitting... will it? Let's just see. Let's see what's going to happen here. Just a 4. Okay, that's a Wraithcaller. It's tough to see through the image, but I can assure you that's the unit that's about to come through. So let's attack this way. We'll put the big stats onto the Mistwraith, so he at least has to throw one of his big boys in front of it. Then we should be fairly strong down the board. Okay. Coming in for 0, but we do get a nice clear across all these units. Still got some strength in hand. Not bad. We definitely need to be open attacking on our next attack, though. And so I was hoping we could kind of build ourselves to a space to where we play a Frenzied Skitterer and play a Nocturne, or we play Frenzied Skitterer and Soul Cleave it, just to shrink these units down. But I don't feel like that's really going to be that safe in these upcoming turns. Kind of interesting. He hasn't stance swapped up to this point. You can stance swap one of these bros and put an overwhelm on it. Come in for a big attack that way.
Is this all we got? Hey, I've done more with less. Please make yourself right at home.
All right, how scary is this nonsense? So the downside with our hand is if we want to play Black Spear, we can't add both the Horror and the Skitterer. Kind of is what it is, I think. I think we want to be dropping the Black Spear onto Senna. Falling to 3 is little scary. If he has if he has access to a 3 Sisters, then he would be capable of blowing us up there. So might as well lead in with the Horror, right? It does essentially the same thing as playing the Skitterer on this turn. I guess seeing this removal suite come in makes me feel a lot better about still having access to the Black Spear. There's a real argument to not even play her here and just see if we draw the Harrowing next turn. But all right, let's see what we can do. No Buried in Ice, please. We got our chance. We got our shot to win. Play some dumb card that doesn't matter. Put something on board that we don't care about, eh? Ew, hit that stairs. That's not as quite as dumb as I was hoping for. Did kill a lot of his own shit there, but our Nocturne's gonna be short. So we have to Nocturne. We'll drop him onto the thing, the big boy. We can hook the big boy into Kalista, and then she shouldn't die in combat because she's gonna have the bonus damage thing, whatever the bond, the chains that bind you, if you will. But kind of a bummer. Definitely got to worry about him coming at us with an Overwhelm now. Drop a Fearsome 5000 and a stance swap or something. Well, if he's going to keep playing a bunch of dudes, we are going to get the chance to prevent 4 damage with the Nocturnes. Maybe he doesn't know what stance swap does. I mean, it's a valid statement, I guess. Not everyone in the world is an Udyr lover in the ways that we are. All right, all right. So the only overwhelm is the Feral Mystic. I don't know about that, fam. I feel like we just dodged a bullet there. He didn't even attack with the Feral Mystic. Why? What are you doing? So we can't just fall to 1, right? He can stance swap us and get a kill that way. We have to block both of these dum-dums. And so, I mean, I'm I'm not entirely convinced he knows what the stance swap does, but we're getting a chance. We're getting a shot. All right, Mistwraith comes in, gets 1 shrink. Our summon on Kalista will get a 2nd shrink. He should only have 2 blockers with at least what's on board here. Is that enough? No, he's gonna have the 2 blockers, just barely. Whew. All right, well, Kalista's still out here doing the work. she said, "I'm here to party. I'm here to party. Let's shut this guy down." Vi comes in. Okay. This has been absurd. We should have lost this game like 5 turns ago, but we've been able to hold on. Oh, the harrowing. We're so close. All right, well, we have to harrowing this turn. There's just no way we can survive this turn without throwing stats on the board. Oh man, that's sad. Look at that Nocturne coming in last. He doesn't get to give any of the negs across the board. I mean, I'm still pretty convinced opponent hasn't read stance swap today, but I'm pretty convinced. But it is what it is, I guess. All right, give us a 2nd harrowing. Come on. Come on. 1-time dealer. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. I don't know. It's just say I don't want to win the game today. Oh my gosh, did we get it? Did we get it? Oh no. Oh, come on. Come on. No, you're not allowed to emote, dude. You fucked this game up super hard. Oh, come on. Come on. That's the stuff. Oh, yeah. Come on. Let us get there. Look at this. Read this. Have you read this one right here? Grant an ally +2 attack and overwhelm. We had 2 of them in hand. He attacked with all of those dudes into our 2 health units last turn. Just decided to not play that, and so. Alright, come on. Oh my gosh, he's blocking. Did he just draw out of this nonsense? Oh, come on. Alright, 3 sisters is 1. Nice. Nice. Glad we didn't top right that one. I was kind of ready to top right that one, and I thought better of it. I said no, thank you. I'm gonna continue to battle, but people don't know what stance swap does, man. I'm not surprised if opponent just kind of picked the deck up and hasn't played it. We've played tons of Udyr across the channel, and so the angles that you see with that are quite common for me. Played a lot of Udyr Jarvan in some of the previous patches, and you do come across a lot of these lines to where your win is going to come from putting the stance onto Udyr, or putting the stance onto Jarvan, and then starting to Cataclysm Jarvan into the opposing units. And so it just feels very fresh to me. It's very understandable to me, a lot of those angles with the stance swap. But if you're not familiar with it, it's not surprising to see them see them kind of fall apart. All right, so how do we want to handle this? We're going to be going for the Soul Cleave onto the Wraithcaller, and so I kind of wanted to throw down the 1 Mistwraith first, because it's not going to have the stats for any of these upcoming turns, but if the Mistwraith doesn't die, then it's going to be better than the Sentry 2 turns from now.
Astounding curiosities lie
I think we still want to bring in the Onlooker as well. The thing to think with this is, like, next turn we're going to play Wraithcaller. Like, that's going to happen, but we're not going to get to bank any mana. And then 2 turns from now, we can play another Wraithcaller and a Soul Cleave, but if we add the Onlooker, we're not going to have the 3 mana for the Soul Cleave. And so I'm kind of considering on leaving him at home, but it's one of these spots to where if we miss, if we you know, don't have these Wraithcallers go how we need to, we're gonna fail.
Fashion forward.
So he's got 7 mana at this point. All right, let's lead with the Soul Cleave. That's going to fill out our board if it's successful, and then if it eats a Vengeance, we can follow up with the other Wraithcaller. Is that how we want to go? We actually have a pretty good round this turn by just playing Frenzied Skitterer into Onlooker. The Onlooker is kind of susceptible to stuff, right? This deck tends to play a bunch of bullshit like Go Hards and group shots and the like, and so he might just die. But it does keep him from blocking with this Rogue Master when our Mistwraiths aren't big enough to win the combat. So I think I'm okay with that. We'll go with the Skitterer route. Shouldn't be able to block now. If we lose the Onlooker, sad day for you. But this looks good. Had to check for the Hallowed as well. We didn't have any.
The elements bind the
Stali
living
comes
and the
in.
dead.
It's gonna be good, most certainly. Don't have a way to kill it right now. I'd love to have 5 attack to shut this down, so we're gonna have to deal with it next turn. I think we might still just be okay, but unfortunate we don't have the stats to get in front of it. Alright, so I'm going to leave that board space open so we can just play the Skitterer, make it so the Robe Master can't block this turn. Don't have to worry about the Ruination. The Ruination is 1 short in terms of mana. Alright, I'm going to bring it like this. I'm not entirely certain the point to where he's going to have to block with the Extali. We want him blocking to the left with it, and if he's blocking to the left, he's not blocking our Mistwraiths, right? We would much prefer him to trade into the Frenzied Skitterers, because they're just kind of done for the game, right? But taking this Extali down, or trading out these spiders instead of the Mistwraiths is definitely good for us. Alright, so he's down to 7 mana. We're going to just go for an open kill next turn. Let's add the Boisterous Host, then we'll add Kalista, then we'll add the Wraithcaller. Figure these Darknesses, only 3 damage, so it's not enough to kill a Kalista. Let's go ahead and add her.
Ready to fire.
Oh, he gets to play 2 though, doesn't he?
Darkness and light.
Okay.
Concentrated forgiveness.
Ugh, are we going to be short? Yeah, he's got to play the other Darkness onto Kalista. We've only got 2 Fearsomes here. Oh no, that's a bummer of a draw. I'd love to be able to get another Fearsome on board, but we can't add this one. Maybe, is that okay? We start adding Fearsomes instead of, and now if he's going to play, I guess he's not going to play Darkness before combat, right? He's not going to just like Darkness Kalista. He's going to wait till combat happens, but if we can get him to kill off one of these units. Yeah, it didn't happen. Didn't happen. Alright, attack's coming in. I want a 2 health unit, being the one getting our Hallowed bonuses. Oh, we don't have any Hallowed bonuses? Dang. the goods will come in sometime. Alright, this game might be lost. We might be 1 short in this one. we can still draw the Harrowing or something. We got a lot of time before this game's done, but I really wanted the Fearsomes to be lethal in here. Look at that, he's even gaining 3 health on the turn. That's rough. Senna's taken off the board though, so we have some opportunities here. Oh, this is what I hated in the old formats though. It was playing against the stupid Portals decks, and then this is like, oh cool, did you hit a 3-attack unit? Then I guess you won the game. You know, good job. I'm proud of the work that you just did. All right, those aren't capable of blocking a Fearsome. I did the mathematics on that one. All right, he knows what's up. This is a better find me a wallop. Uh-oh, he snapped that one off. I don't know about this one, fam. We need a second Fearsome. Phantom Butler has Fearsome. Oh, he's not enough. We only have like Hallowed 2. We're nowhere near getting the kills with these things. Go to 1. Go to 1. Go to 1. Oh no. He's gonna get the block. Okay. Dang. That's tough. We could have played a couple of angles in there a little bit differently, but it's always unfortunate when they get the blockers out there off of the portal stuff. I'm surprised they just didn't hit like three attack units. That's the way that nonsense usually goes. You're probably about due though. Like if you're coin flipping across the 2s and the 3s, I would say the majority of the 3s have 3 attack. But nonetheless, on to the final battle up against Poppy Tarek. This is one I'm okay with holding onto Pirouette, but I don't want Frenzied Skitterer. It's a little bit too expensive for what we're trying to do. I like this shutdown ability with Pirouette, especially with it being able to say shut down a Poppy plus a Challenger Bird. So has a lot of value in this match. Just as they're trying to make their big explosive turns, they drop a golden Aegis onto Tarek, then you can just get the stun. It's a little more defensive than we would probably like, but it just has so much value in this game. The Wraithcaller turns up. Ooh. So I think we're gonna maintain this 3-bank. It's a few turns away though from being able to pull off the Soul Cleave. Right, as we roll around to turn 5, we can just do everything then. So let's just continue adding Fearsomes to the board. We'll go with the Phantom Butler here. So if he wants to make a trade, it's going to be in with a Hallowed unit. This is tough, and so there's a couple of things. It's like if he has a single combat, that's going to be his big one here, right? He probably can't block without a single combat. I don't know if these decks play the +2/+2 card out of the new set. All right, we'll stick with the 3s. I think this is probably a little safer. Like in terms of me, I've just switched to going back to playing Sharp Sight because Nora is such a real card. He's not. TFT Jordan disagrees. He says, "LOL bust. I'm playing I'm playing the +2/+2. I don't care about Nora. I don't care about Teemo." And so that's okay. We'll zing him with the Pirouette a couple turns from now. Is this the first game we've drawn it? It's why when we were playing the discard aggro deck, I played 3 copies of Blowback to just kind of help ensure that we drew it. I felt like we would be okay with 2 copies of Pirouette. It seems like it's been fine. But with this, like, I don't want our Wraithcaller getting hit this turn. And so does the opponent ever just, like, not attack here? And if they do not attack, how bad is it for us? Like, we can still just say add the Arachnoid Horror, and that leaves us in the same spot, right? So if the turn just passes, we still just take the... Or if we just pass, we don't lose any units, but we take that full amount of mana into the next turn, to where if we just go ahead and add the Arachnoid Horror, we'll have access to the Wraithcaller Soul Cleave next turn still. Or we could even look to pivot now that he's going to have another 1 health unit out here to maybe use the Pirouette. But I imagine Pirouette's going to be better 2 turns from now when we're trying to stop him from, say, attacking with Poppy and another one of these dum-dums. So at the moment, we're pretty safe, right? He can't single combat our Wraithcaller. He can't concerted strike anymore now, and so let's go for the Soul Cleave. I was thinking in terms of having this Mark of the Isles, if something could still go completely wrong, even with Mark of the Isles in hand, and not now. I guess you could have double single combat. That would probably be enough, but should have been pretty safe there. Now his blocks are all just garbage. Cool, right? It is. And so we have Hallowed 2 down here to the left. Let's put that on our worst Fearsome unit. I think that's going to be the Sentry. Then we can come in with the Mistwraiths, and our Wraithcallers are going to get blocked by his bad units. But on this board, he's got to block with Poppy, and he wants to block Poppy onto a Mistwraith because those are just better. So we'll let the Horror get the bonus stats here. We could even just go for a lethal this turn if we wanted. I think it's probably a little greedy, but if he, say, like, blocks a Mistwraith with Poppy and then tries to single combat Poppy onto a different unit... Ooh, though, no, the Mark of the Isles, it gets us there in terms of stats, but we'll strike and then die because we're ephemeral. So we can give that a little bit of time. I think we're still good. We got this Pirouette's ready to go. Ibex number 3. And a Wraithcaller. Rip. Rip. So that's fine. We'll go ahead and lead off with the Wraithcaller. These units aren't worthy of a Pirouette. If he wants to play a Taric, then we'll look to Pirouette Taric and the Broadwing. But if the best thing he's going to do this turn is attack with Tayari and Petricite Broadwing, and then he needs to use the Broadwing to hook a Mistwraith, and we just get the good block onto Tayari with Wraithcaller, like, I don't care about any of that. And so that lets us just be in this spot to where we just play Mistwraith and attack through. And so, yeah. Good stuff. GG. Well played. And so, yeah, good set of battles. Good set of battles. We got to play against a nice variety of decks, none of which were the decks that we were actually kind of targeting, and then still having a pretty good go at it. Again, this is a deck that can take down pretty much anything. It has these really aggressive draws that some decks just can't beat, and then has that kind of main thing going for it. It's why I like playing aggro decks as opposed to something like Karma Set, because even in these games to where you draw too many Wraithcallers or you draw too many Kalistas, you can still be pretty aggressive in your early game, to where if you're playing Karma Set and you draw like 3 copies of Set in the early game, you're really going to be hurting for a bruising. And so it's just one of the small reasons I prefer to be on the aggro end of the spectrum. But nonetheless, it's a very powerful strategy. You could see we took down a lot of decks. I like the edits that we've made. We used to play cards like Legionary Charge, since it would come in and draw your Nocturne. Not doing that nonsense anymore. Some versions like to play Precious Pet. That's a card that kind of combos in with the the small spiders package and also has Fearsome. I've cut it out and gone down to just the 2 copies of Pirouette to really kind of lock in this idea of hitting our allegiances with Wraithcallers and having the maximum Soul Cleaves. And so you can, look to cut Pirouette out. I usually feel pretty comfortable in these allegiance decks playing 2 copies of a card or 3 copies of a card and still reasonably hitting our allegiances, and it feels like the Pirouettes are worth it. We didn't get too much opportunity today to showcase it, but again, it has a lot of angles to where it can be incredibly powerful. And if you think to say those Poppy games we played, right? We played Poppy twice today. If you're able to stun a Poppy defensively and then kill a unit, that's usually exceptionally strong. And then even if it's on your opponent's turn and you're able to say stun a Poppy and then kill a random 3/1, that just does so much work in terms of letting your Fearsomes come through for attacks. And so the versatility you get out of a card like Pirouette is incredibly strong, and I've been exceptionally happy with it. But nonetheless, good stuff, good games, good battles. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.